Today I'm going to be giving my no BS honest review of the Shark FlexStyle versus the Dyson Airwrap. As someone who's had the Shark FlexStyle for over a year now, I have done all of my hairstyling recently with this tool. Whenever I get questions in my videos of how do you do your hair, it is always the Shark FlexStyle. I was getting kind of tired of the fact that Shark was not coming out with longer barrels. So I decided to treat myself to the Dyson Airwrap because they have the longer barrels, fully expecting that I was going to retire the Shark, but we'll see throughout this video what my thoughts are between the two of them. I did purchase both of these myself. This is totally unsponsored, and let's get into it. Also, I should say I'm not a hair expert by any means. I definitely have some experience styling my own hair, but a lot of these are just my personal experience and my opinions. I don't really think the Dyson is marketed as a tool for experts only anyway. First of all, price breakdown and what you get for the price. So first of all, for the Shark is $299. I got mine somehow for like $270. There might have been like a little sale. And with the Shark, you get the base attachment here. You get the focused hair dryer attachment. It comes with two 1.25-inch barrels. This is one for either side, so you need both of these. And then it comes with the oval brush and the paddle brush. You can buy a smaller round brush separately if you prefer the round brush, but I actually prefer the oval. We'll get into that later. And then the Dyson. I bought the long straight hair attachments or the straight hair bundle. They do have different bundles for if you have curly hair that has different attachments. Anyways, the base Dyson is $599, almost double the Shark, not quite. Of course, you're going to get the base here. It does come with this really nice case. I do think this case would definitely be too big for traveling. This would just take up like way too much space in my suitcase, but it's nice that it all comes together like this. The Shark didn't do that. In terms of the attachments, you have the Coanda smoothing blow dry attachment. The air comes out of here. It can also be switched to the other side to use this as a smoothing attachment. I didn't really get very good results, but again, not an expert. You get two long curling attachments here. And what's nice about the Dyson is the curling attachment, it has a little arrow up here. Instead of having to remove the curler for either side like you have to with the Shark, you just twist this little attachment here and the air will flow counterclockwise. And if you turn it this way, it'll flow clockwise. So this definitely is easier than having to switch the barrels. So this is the 1.6 inch and this is the 1.2 inch. So this is a lot bigger than the Shark. For my long kind of heavy hair, this just doesn't really work for me. It doesn't really give much of a curl. After like 20 minutes, it's kind of just a blowout, which is fine depending on what you're going for. But this is definitely more comparable to the size of the Shark. This is 1.2, the Shark is 1.25. And again, you get to switch the directions super easily with this. You also get the volumizing round brush attachment. And then you get two smoothing paddle attachments. One is the firm, one is the soft. I don't use these paddle attachments. I've never really had very good luck with them, so I honestly can't really speak to these. So you're definitely getting a more luxurious package with the Dyson, as well as a couple more attachments. But I find with tools like this, you eventually just kind of return back to using like one or two of the attachments. So a lot of the extras are just extra and just kind of sit in your drawers. Next, let's move on to setting options. The Shark has 3 heat settings and a cool shot, and the Dyson is the same. There are 3 air settings, 3 heat settings. And then the cool shot, you just push up from the on button, so it's not a separate button. Here are those attachments. You can also see the Shark, all the buttons are a lot lower down than the Dyson, and we'll talk about that later. And then they both have a little locking, unlocking release up at the top here. They also both have swivel cords, and honestly, the weight is pretty similar. I haven't felt like one is heavier than the other in my hand. Next, I'm going to be discussing which one I prefer for each of the functions. So first of all, as a blow dryer. So the Shark blow dryer attachment is this small little focused blow dryer, and you just clip it on. And then this is really where the Shark gets set apart. And I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. It honestly is. The Shark, you have this little swivel lever here, and you can turn it sideways and hold it like a normal blow dryer. Not only is this just more ergonomic and convenient, but the airflow out of this is so much more than the Dyson. Fortunately, I live in a very dry area, so my hair dries a lot faster than when I used to live in the South, where it was very humid. But the extra power of this blow dryer is definitely appreciated as someone who has quite a bit of hair. Also, my fiance Ian, he also likes to dry his hair with the Shark, but ever since I got the Dyson, he's just been using a regular blow dryer. He doesn't really like to use this. I definitely think the Shark blow dryer wins. We haven't even talked about the Dyson one yet. But anyways, the air comes out of this little section right here and you kind of have to hold it like this. It's really not the worst. Like, it does still come out to the side the same as the Shark does, but it just doesn't feel as focused and the air is just not as strong, which was surprising because I feel like the Dyson Air products are supposed to be pretty strong, but I definitely think the Airwrap is better for its other functions, not as a blow dryer. I will say the Dyson is a little bit quieter than the Shark. The Shark I've gotten used to. It was pretty loud at first, but honestly, most hair dryers are. But if you're really sensitive to noise, I do think the Dyson is just a little bit quieter. So for the blow dry setting, I choose the Shark. Next, we're going to talk about the brushes. As mentioned, the one that the Shark comes with is this oval brush and the Dyson comes with this round brush. I see a lot of people buying the Dyson for this little round brush, and I'm just gonna be honest and say that I don't ever fully style my hair with these brushes. I do occasionally just go through for like a couple little like smoothing stroke just to get rid of some of the frizz. And this oval brush, I wasn't sure about it at first, but it just really holds onto the hair really well and allows you to get a lot of that tension, which creates that smoothing effect. I also feel like this is just more time efficient for me because I do have a lot of hair and the brush is just much bigger. With the Dyson, to be fair, I have used this a lot less times, so maybe there's a learning curve that I'm not quite understanding, but to be honest, again, I haven't really figured out a whole learning curve with any blow dry brush. I always end up going in with some sort of secondary tool, but with this one, the brush is just so tiny that I feel like I see this as being most effective for like a bang, a curtain bang, you know, the front pieces, but not for your whole head, especially if you have really long, thick hair. Someone's gonna tell me that I don't have thick hair in this video, but maybe my hair's not thick, I don't know. I just have a lot. When trying to use this around my whole head, just for a smoothing effect, it just takes a lot longer and the bristles are just a lot more flexible and I just don't feel like they really grip onto my hair as much. Even when the Shark grips onto my hair, I never feel like it's pulling it out or really tangling it. I just don't feel like this little Dyson one is quite enough for me. That being said, I know a lot of people love this. Just for me, it's just not what I need for a hair tool. So for the styling brushes, again, I'm choosing the Shark. Next, let's get into the curling attachments. And this is really where I have fallen in love with this type of styling tool. I just love that I'm able to take my hair from wet to dry, end up with smooth kind of blowout style curls. First thing that sets the Dyson and the Shark apart for this one is that the Shark, you do have to switch from the clockwise to the counterclockwise. So this one is going to go this way, and if I want to do the left side of my head, which I like to curl away from my face, I have to switch the attachments. It's honestly very quick and not a huge deal. It's one extra piece, but the Dyson's definitely more convenient. Again, for the Dyson, all you have to do is simply twist this little setting at the top and it goes from clockwise to counterclockwise, so you don't actually have to remove it and put another attachment on. So that's definitely a lot easier. Again, the reason why I got the Dyson was because it comes with a long barrel attachment. Shark, for some reason, refuses to come out with long barrels. Dyson has had long barrels for if not over a year now, and I keep waiting for Shark to do it. They just come out with like a whole hot pink FlexStyle instead of actually coming out with like more functional things for people with long hair. I don't know why it's so hard for them to come out with a longer barrel, but they just don't do it. I've tried tagging them on Instagram stories. I've tried commenting on their posts. They continue to ignore me, so we may never get longer barrels. Anyways, I was surprised to see when I got the Dyson that the longer barrels are actually not that much longer. If you hold them side by side at the bottom there, you'll see it's only about an inch, maybe even less than an inch longer than the standard Shark. But it's actually not giving you that much extra space. So I thought it would be a lot faster to style with the long barrels because I could use bigger sections of hair, but I end up kind of just using the same size sections anyway. Again, with the curling attachments, the Dyson does come with two sizes. We have the 1.6 and the 1.2. The 1.2 looks skinny, but it's actually more similar to the Shark, which is a 1.25 inch. So if you really want your curls to last, you're gonna want to use the smaller curling iron. I did use this larger one the other day, and by the end of the day, it looked like I had barely done anything to my hair, which to be fair, my hair never lasts as long when I use a styling tool like this compared to when I'm actually curling it with a curling iron, but I do like the kind of more blown out look it gives me. So ease of use with the curling attachments. I will say where the buttons are placed on the Dyson versus the Shark makes the Dyson a lot easier to use. use. If I'm holding my hand in the middle of the barrel here, all of the buttons are right there in my reach. All I have to do is push up to turn on the hairdryer. And then when I want to do the cool shot, which you're supposed to dry with heat for about 10 seconds and then do a cool shot for about 5 to 10 seconds and then turn it off and then release your hair. And you have to hold it up, but again, this is still a one-hand job, and then you turn it all off from there. So you can do this all with one hand. It's super easy to use. The Shark, unfortunately, is not as ergonomic in this regard. It's definitely more of a two-hand job. So you can see if I'm holding my hand in the middle of the barrel here, I don't have the reach to get to that on button down here. So normally I am turning it on with my other hand. So I flip it on, I curl my hair, and then again with my right hand, I turn on the cool shot, which is a separate button that I have to hold. So I turn on the cool shot and then I turn it off with my left hand, and then I pull everything out. So I do think the Shark is a lot less ergonomic in that regard. It requires two hands. Is it a huge deal now that I'm used to it? No, but I definitely liked when I was using the Dyson how easy it was to just use it with one hand. I also will say, if you've never had either of these tools, when it says cool shot, it really just means lack of heat shot. It's not cold. It's barely even room temperature. It's still like a little bit warm. It's just not hot. So when I first got the Shark, I was like, oh, like the cool shot is not very cold. Maybe the Dyson is actually cold, but it's not. They're both very much a room temperature shot, even though they call it a cool shot. So be prepared. So right before I filmed this, I did half of my head with the Shark and half of my head with the Dyson. Comment down below which one you think it is before I reveal it. But I timed how long it took each section, again, thinking that the Dyson would save me a little bit more time, just because those buttons are a little bit more in reach. I only need one hand, and with a longer barrel, I figured I could use a slightly larger section of hair and maybe have less sections overall. So for the Shark, layer 1 took 1 minute and 38 seconds, layer 2, 2 minutes and 18 seconds, and layer 3, 1 minute and 11 seconds. Dyson, I will put those times on the screen. In total, to do an entire half of my head with the Shark, it took 5 minutes and 7 seconds, and Dyson, it took 5 minutes and 27 seconds. So honestly, if we did like a full trial of this, I would have switched the sides and done a couple of trials just to get an average, but I think it's pretty clear that they are about the same amount of time, and the Dyson really is not saving any significant time or really any time at all. And now I'll reveal that this is the Shark side and this is the Dyson. So honestly, they're pretty similar. I don't really think one looks much better than the other. The last thing to note is a lasting power, and I'll check back in at the end of the day. I don't usually brush my hair out fully until I'm about to go to bed, and then I usually put some hair oil in. This is just kind of finger combed through a little bit. Again, my hair is pretty long right now. I haven't gotten my hair done in like 6 months. So I'm actually getting my hair cut this week. So hopefully I get a little bit of length off and the curls will hold a little bit better. When my hair was a little bit shorter, the curls stayed a lot better. So again, a lot of it's due to just like the heaviness of my hair right now. But again, we'll check back in at the end of the day to see which one lasted a little bit longer or if they lasted about the same. So let's kind of summarize our results here. In terms of price, Shark is definitely the more affordable option. It's still an expensive hair tool, but it's almost half the price. You do get a couple more attachments with the Dyson, as well as a much more luxurious case, but I don't think the Shark looks cheap by any means. Again, it's not cheap. When it comes to the hairdry setting, the Shark is just much better. It's a lot stronger, it's faster, it's easier to hold. Honestly, I don't really know whether or not to count the brush settings because I don't really use the brush for full styling, but I do prefer the Shark brush a little bit more. And again, if you are someone who prefers a round brush, you can buy a round brush attachment from Shark. I did buy this thinking I might like the round, but overall I prefer the oval. Then for the curling function, the Dyson is definitely easier to use overall, so definitely wins there. But I don't really think the Dyson barrels are all that much better than the Shark. Sure, it's a little bit easier to just kind of twist that top thing instead of switching the barrels, but I think the overall result of the curls is really not much better. If Shark just came out with longer barrels, everything would be fixed. But anyway, so the Dyson is just a little bit easier to use with that curling function for sure, but in terms of overall time, I would say that they're about the same. And again, we're gonna check in at the end of the day for how long it lasts, but my guess is that they're going to be pretty similar. So overall, I honestly prefer the Shark, and I'm going to be returning my Dyson. I really wouldn't have bought the Dyson if I didn't think it was really going to be an improvement, so I'm a little disappointed that it's really about the same, but honestly, that's good news because the Shark is affordable, and honestly, for me, it works just as well. Let me know if you guys have either of these in the comments down below. This is a slightly different video than what we normally do, but I do get a lot of questions about my hair, so I figured we might as well just make a whole video for this. This will also help me once I return my Dyson to remind myself that I'm never gonna buy it again, unless things really change, but I just don't see it improving that much. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!